In our daily lives, we often treat money as a goal, but we rarely stop to ask if we are the ones in control. Jesus famously stated that no one can serve two masters. He wasn't just making a moral point, he was describing a fundamental psychological reality. You cannot be driven by two conflicting priorities at the same time. In the modern world, money is the primary competitor for our focus, often demanding our absolute devotion under the guise of security. This teaching is not a warning against having money, it is a warning against money having you. There is a massive difference between owning wealth and being owned by it. When money becomes your master, it dictates your emotions. You feel a surge of worth when your balance goes up, and a deep sense of panic when it goes down. Your decisions start to be driven by fear of loss and greed for gain, rather than by your actual values or long-term vision. When money is the master, you lose your freedom. You become a slave to the market, to your boss, or to your own lifestyle inflation. You stop taking risks that matter because you are too afraid of the financial consequences. Your time is no longer yours, it belongs to the pursuit of more. This is the definition of a toxic relationship with an asset. However, when you flip the script and treat money as a tool, everything changes. A tool has no power on its own, its value depends entirely on the hand that holds it. When money is your tool, you gain the clarity to use it for a higher purpose. You view your bank account as a resource to solve problems, support your family, and build a meaningful life. You are no longer working for the money is working for you. To reclaim your focus, you must daily re-establish who is the master. Ask yourself, is this financial decision based on my purpose, or am I just reacting to fear? When you demote money from a god to a tool, the pressure lifts. You stop being a servant to a currency and start being a manager of a resource. Clarity returns the moment you put money back in its proper place, under your feet, not over your head. The world we live in is built on a single, powerful lie, that more always equals better. We are told that a bigger house, a faster car, or a more expensive watch will finally provide the satisfaction we are looking for. This creates a psychological treadmill of consumption. No matter how much you acquire, the horizon of enough always stays just out of reach. You end up running faster and faster, yet staying in the same state of dissatisfaction. Jesus challenged this head-on when he taught that a person's life does not consist in the abundance of their possessions. This isn't a call to live in poverty, it is a call to live in reality. Contentment is not about forcing yourself to have less. It is about the realization that you already have enough to be effective right now. When you stop believing that your happiness is hidden in the next purchase, the treadmill stops moving. The greatest cost of the more trap is the energy leak caused by constant comparison. When you define your success by how you measure up against others, you are giving away your power. You spend your mental energy tracking what others have, instead of focusing on what you are meant to build. Contentment plugs this leak. It allows you to focus 100% of your resources on your own path because you are no longer distracted by the noise of the marketplace. Contentment is actually a high-performance strategy. A person who is content is a person who cannot be easily manipulated. You don't make desperate business moves out of envy, and you don't over-leverage your life to impress people you don't even like. You gain the ability to wait, to think clearly, and to act only when it serves your actual purpose. Breaking the more trap is the first step toward true wealth. Wealth is not just the number in your bank account, it is the freedom to not be controlled by it. When you realize that you have what you need to fulfill your mission today, you stop being a consumer and start being a creator. Real power is having the internal stability to say, I have enough, even while the world is screaming for more. In the world of finance, we are obsessed with ROI. We track every percentage point and worry about market volatility. However, most of our traditional investments are in assets that naturally decay. Cars lose value the moment they leave the lot, electronics become obsolete in months, and even the strongest currencies can be eroded by inflation. We spend our lives building a fortress out of materials that are guaranteed to rust. Jesus proposed a different investment strategy. He suggested moving your capital into things that are moth and rust-proof. This isn't just a religious metaphor, it is a profound concept of asset protection. He was talking about investing in things that cannot be taken away by a market crash or a bank failure. your character, your impact on others, and the legacy you leave behind. True wealth is measured by what remains of you after the money is gone. If you lost every dollar tomorrow, what would you have left? You would have your skills, your reputation, the lives you've changed, and the integrity of your soul. Those are the only assets that are truly yours. Everything else is just on loan from the world. When you invest in people and in your own growth, you are creating a return that pays dividends forever. This is the highest form of risk management. By diversifying your portfolio to include these eternal assets, you become less vulnerable to the ups and downs of the economy. If your identity is tied to your character rather than your cash flow, a financial setback is just a temporary challenge, not a total catastrophe. You are protecting your core value from the external environment. Stop spending 100% of your energy on assets that have an expiration date. Start allocating time and resources to things that grow in value over time: wisdom, kindness, and contribution. An investment in a better version of yourself and a better world for others is the only one that offers a guaranteed, eternal ROI. When you build a life on these foundations, you aren't just making a living, you are building a legacy that survives you. Many people spend their entire lives in scarcity mode. This is a mental state driven by the constant, nagging fear that there will never be enough. Not enough money, not enough opportunity, and not enough time. When you live in scarcity, your vision narrows. This fear leads to hoarding resources and making poor short-term decisions based on panic rather than logic. You become like a person holding their breath, terrified that the world will run out of air. Jesus challenged this mindset by pointing to the natural world. He noted that the birds of the air and the flowers of the field do not struggle or hoard, yet they are provided for. This wasn't a suggestion to be lazy, it was a lesson in trust. He was showing that the universe is governed by a provider, not just by random chance. When you recognize that there is a source larger than your own effort, the grip of fear begins to loosen. An abundance mindset is the opposite of scarcity. It is the belief that there is more where that came from. This mindset is a powerful business and life advantage. When you aren't terrified of losing what you have, you gain the freedom to be generous and the courage to take calculated risks. You can invest in others and in new ideas because you know that your value is not tied to your current bank balance. Scarcity makes you a competitor for crumbs. Abundance makes you a creator of value. In scarcity mode, you see everyone as a threat to your resources. In abundance mode, you see others as potential partners in growth. One leads to isolation and stress, while the other leads to connection and expansion. To shift your mindset, you must stop measuring your safety by what you have accumulated and start measuring it by the reliability of the source. When you realize that the same power that sustains the world is available to support you, you can breathe again. You stop hoarding and start flowing. An abundance mindset doesn't just change your bank account, it changes your capacity to live. In a closed system, the logic is simple. You hold on to everything you have because you believe that once it's gone, it's gone. This is how many people approach their lives and businesses, clinging to every dollar, every idea, and every connection. But a closed system eventually stagnates. Without movement, water becomes a swamp. In contrast, an open system thrives on flow. The more that goes out, the more space there is for something new to come in. Jesus taught a fundamental law of the universe: give, and it will be given to you. This isn't just a religious promise, it is a practical business strategy. In the marketplace, generosity is the most effective way to build a network of trust and goodwill. When you go beyond the contract to provide extra value, or when you share your knowledge and resources to help someone else succeed, you are building social capital. This capital is far more valuable than a hidden stash of cash because it can solve problems that money alone cannot buy. Generosity creates a law of outflow. By being the one who gives first, you set the rhythm of the relationship. People naturally want to do business with and support those who have been generous to them. It creates a reputation for abundance. While others are fighting for a larger slice of a small pie, a generous person is focused on making the whole pie bigger. This mindset attracts opportunities, partners, and loyal customers who want to see you succeed. Beyond the numbers, generosity keeps your spirit alive. It prevents you from becoming cynical and protective. When you practice giving, you prove to yourself that you are not a slave to your assets. You are a channel, not a reservoir. A reservoir just sits there, but a channel is constantly refreshed by the source. The most successful people understand that you cannot receive with a clenched fist. You have to open your hand to give, and in doing so, your hand remains open to receive. Don't just look for what you can get out of a deal, look for what you can put into it. When you prioritize the outflow of value, the inflow of profit becomes a natural byproduct. There is a famous parable about a successful man who had a harvest so great that his existing barns couldn't hold it all. His solution was logical: build bigger barns, store everything, and then tell himself, "You have plenty of grain laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry." But that very night, his life was required of him, and all his accumulated wealth became useless to him. The mistake this man made wasn't being productive or building bigger barns. The error was misaligned security. He believed that the bigger barn, the larger bank balance, the diversified portfolio, the physical storage of wealth, could provide him with ultimate safety. He mistook temporary storage for permanent security. He thought he had bought himself a future, but he had only bought himself more stuff. If your sense of safety is tied to a volatile market, a specific asset, or a number in an account, you are building your house on sand. These things are subject to change, inflation, and collapse. When your security is external, you live in a state of constant, underlying anxiety, because deep down you know that what the world gives, the world can also take away. You are only as secure as the latest market report. Real security must be internal. It is an anchor that remains steady regardless of what the economy is doing. It is the confidence that comes from your character, your faith, and your connection to the truth. When you are rich toward God, rich in purpose and spirit, you have a foundation that does not shake when the world changes. You realize that your life's value is not determined by the size of your barns, but by the strength of your foundation. Stop asking if your barns are big enough, and start asking if your anchor is deep enough. Use your barns to manage your resources, but never trust them to save your soul. When you align your security with what is internal and eternal, you gain the one thing the rich fool never had: true peace of mind. Money is inherently neutral. It is neither good nor evil, it is simply a magnifier of the heart that holds it. Like fuel, it can either power a vehicle that moves you forward or start a fire that destroys everything. The intent behind the money is what gives it its ultimate power. Jesus didn't just tell people to give away their money as if it was something to be discarded. He often invited them to use their resources to follow him and engage in a larger mission. When wealth is pursued for its own sake, it eventually becomes a burden. You find yourself spending all your time protecting it, counting it, and worrying about it. But when your wealth has a mission, it transforms into a vehicle. Whether that mission is providing a legacy for your family, building a stronger community, or solving a specific problem in the world, the money takes on a new meaning. It is no longer just profit, it is fuel for purpose. Having a mission for your wealth changes how you feel about making it. You stop feeling guilty about success and start feeling responsible for it. You realize that the more value you create and the more profit you generate, the more capacity you have to fulfill your mission. Your business or your career becomes a platform for something much larger than a paycheck. It becomes your way of contributing to the world. A mission-driven approach to wealth also provides resilience. During difficult economic times, people who are only chasing money often give up or panic. But those who are driven by a purpose stay the course because the mission still exists regardless of the market conditions. They are anchored by a why that is stronger than any how. The ultimate goal of accumulation is not personal luxury, it is global impact. When you align your financial success with a higher calling, you find a level of satisfaction that no material purchase can provide. You aren't just a rich person, you are a person of influence and consequence. By turning your profit into purpose, you ensure that your wealth leaves a mark on the world that lasts long after the money is spent.